Good morning, everyone. Uh, we are starting today's session, and today we are going to be discussing smart city, green city, the ideas of smart city and green city, and also how it responds or connects to the city of Kolkata. So I am inviting a panel from Deloitte, who are currently working on the new town proposal. And I would just hand over the mic to him, and then we will have it's a half an hour presentation for them, and then we'll have a question answer and follow it up with some more presentations. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure seeing all of you this morning on a rainy Saturday morning here. And thank you, Shantan, for giving us an opportunity to speak on this. You know, if we really want to talk about the smart city project, I don't know if some of you are aware, so I'll start from a little bit of background. 2.5 years back, the government of India decided that they will take up a certain amount of pilot initiatives in the form of creating smart cities, which is spread across the country in the sense that 100 smart cities was initially planned. The whole idea was that there will, for these 100 cities, there will be one pan-city solution, which will be primarily an intervention across the city, which will be one particular solution, and then there will be a particular area within the city which will be chosen through a competition which will involve the voting by citizens, which will involve workshops, stakeholder consultations, etc. So that particular area will have certain smart interventions, mostly IoT and IT, Internet of Things and IT-related interventions, and citizen-friendly, child-friendly, safety factors, etc., etc. The idea is that once these pilot projects are successful, once this particular area is successful, then there will be other parts of the city which will replicate this, either through participation by the private sector, which will trigger some more investment there into the city, and also by a certain amount of, collaboration with other schemes. So whichever other schemes are happening in the country, whether it's a Swachh Bharat or solid waste management related, etc., etc., it will have a convergence. So it will trigger in more investment towards making cities more livable. So that was the whole idea. Now, as far as the new Kolkata Green Smart City, officially we started a little later than the other cities than when the other cities started. But you know, being a new city, we had already had a lot of interventions which was captured in this concept even before the smart city program was announced. I'll tell you. So say for instance, I'm sure most of you have been to the new town. When this city was conceived, it was realized that overhead wires, whether it's a power cable or the TV cable lines, etc., etc. This is a big hindrance to the look and feel of the city, and also there are other factors. Say, for instance, this has been for a small area in certain older cities, say Hazratganj in Lucknow. It has been a specific project there to do this, and it involved a lot of time, a lot of effort, lot of legal hassles, etc., etc. So this entire city of New Town was conceived with this particular concept, and today you do not see that. So that's an asset, particularly when we are now having the overhead metro and other things. This is a asset which we have for the city forever, because all the utilities, including power utilities, cable utilities, are underground. We got a IGBC gold rating, green concepts implemented to reduce environmental impacts that are measurable and improve the quality of life. And also, you know, this particular concept also looks at future designs, certain designs which are things like barrier-free footpaths, things like wheelchair-friendly and child perambulator-friendly streets, things like certain amount of illumination which enhances the security level of a city, because that's how the security level comes in, and also saving power on those illuminations. So these are various concepts which are already there. Next. getting back into the smart city overall concept, how we have been looking at implementing this particular project, or rather a program in Newtown, there are certain priority areas which involve transport and walkability, social infrastructure, solid waste management, safety, security, and economy and employment. And there are certain strategic focus areas, which are, as I was mentioning, it talks about improved quality of life, enhanced mobility, increased safety and security, and creating economic opportunities. So creating economic opportunities is also a very, very important factor, because we feel that with these interventions, there will be more number of people who will get employed. There's more number of jobs which will be created in the entire process. And then there are certain strategic ideas, which are quite a few. You can take a look yourself, translated into the projects. So area-based projects, as I mentioned to you on the entire concept, that area-based projects, and there will be one Pan City project. So this is basically how it was structured. Next. In the area-based development, we identified 9 specific areas. One is related to social and cultural, and there are, you can see for yourself, there are certain specific interventions which are related to specific locations, which is in the project social and culture. Then, of course, we had the project Zero, which is looking at absolute waste management, which includes segregation at source, which includes treating, which includes involving the citizens, because as you know, there are a number of people who have come into these housing complexes here, and these are vertical structures, so there's a lot of people who are staying there. Project Safe and Safe Water. So saving water as well as safe water. This is something which is a priority, and the more developed a country is, the safe of water is a very, very big thing there, where you can actually open the tap and have the water, and also saving water. We are talking about water conservation all over. And smart metering, because we realize that unless smart metering takes place, particularly at a household and domestic level, finally, we cannot really save water. So we really have to make people accountable for the water wasted by them. And electricity, project Sustainable Environment, which is related to solar-based energy as well as energy conservation. Mobility and connectivity, because as and when people come in and more people live in, mobility and connectivity is a very, very important thing. We realize that for Newtown, with so many people coming in, mobility will be a very, very important factor, and which will include both the facilities, which are like bus stands, bus terminus, bicycle tracks, etc., as well as smart mobility solutions like smart bicycle system, electric buses moving around. So that, and also the metro is coming up, but that's a separate intervention. But this is something by which the entire idea is to make the city more livable for the people who are living there. And Safe Citizen, which is an emergency response system, intelligent street lights, and economic opportunity, which will involve an incubation center, common service centers. The concept of co-working and co-living will be brought forward, so that the commuting time of people becomes less, and they do not worry about the time and hassle of commuting and concentrate more on the time. So probably spend some quality research time after their work. On the Pan City solutions, primarily, there is a intelligent government services, because Pan City solution is more IT driven as compared to the area-based solutions. There will be the electronic health record of birth, death through blockchain, which is already done. And then citizen interface system, smart library, CCTV with video analytics, etc. The overall, whatever IT interventions, the whole concept is that overall, whatever IT interventions take place, that is blocked into one specific platform, and that is called the Integrated Command and Control Center. So this will be one place where there will be the convergence of all IT and IoT interventions that is taking place, and that is something which will be one point where people will be able to see and make a strategy of how to deal with various interventions which are taking place. So this is something which will have a lot of involvement of the police forces, because they will be looking at the traffic and the safety. It will have the involvement of the city authority, who are looking at the overall facilities of the city. It will involve the the public health engineering department, who will be looking at solid waste management, everything. So that is the one convergence of all these things which come in a common platform. Next. The key projects which have already been taken up under the Smart City program in Newtown, we have 3 electric buses rolled out even before this program started. So as I told you, there are quite a few things which was done beforehand. So 3 electric buses already run in Newtown, and there's 3 more which will be added into this fleet very soon. And then we have a bicycle and e-scooter sharing scheme, which is the app-based bicycle sharing scheme. It was there in Newtown. It got discontinued for a while. We are trying to put it back by bringing in a new operator through a proper tendering process. There's charging stations for e-vehicles. We already have several Toto and auto charging stations, which is widely used by the Toto and auto drivers across Newtown. And we are putting together more vehicle charging stations, about 8 particular locations with 2 charging stations each, because this is usually 1 AC and 1 DC. So we are in the final stage of agreeing with EESL, Government of India promoted company, and putting up these charging stations across the city. The last mile connectivity, electric vehicle, Totos, there are quite a few who have shown interest. There are quite a few which are already operating, and there are quite a few large companies which have shown interest to get into this. The state-of-the-art convention center, of course, most of you have probably been there, so you know about it. And the Silicon Valley hub of the East, this is something where major firms who are committed to IT, etc., they are coming in. And it will also have a fintech hub where financial and technology companies will also come in. So that's also something which is being planned. And co-living and co-working workplaces that I was talking about some time back, that this is a concept which is getting popular all over, which was popular all over the world and getting popular in India as well. Next. Then there are social and cultural interventions related to telemedicine kiosks. We already have an iconic structure in the form of Gateway of Kolkata. And soon we will be putting together an underpass and an undercarriageway built there, just to facilitate the citizen experience of crossing the street and moving around in that location. And so for Safe Citizen, we have CCTV cameras installed already. We are putting together another 565 cameras, and also connecting it even before the overall integrated command and control center comes up. We are putting about 565 cameras at various locations, going away from the major arterial road also, and covering the areas where citizens are staying. And this will all be connected together, and coming into the feed will be coming into the Bidhar Nagar police and the airport police, who can take suitable measures. And we have, rooftop organic farming, we have solid waste management intervention, sustainable environment. We already have solar panels on water. This is a real photograph. Next. We have certain cultural and heritage interventions, which are like digital archive for state's cultural icons. We have ICT-enabled library. If you go to Rabindra Tirtho, you will find that there is a smart library which is developed there. In fact, I would request, some of you who can visit, you can go and take a look. And it will be a purely digital library where, which will not have human interventions. There will be a particular RF tag on the book, and you can do it yourself. Cultural center with a museum, auditorium, and cinema, which is Najrul Tirtho, which is very popular by now. Number of water conservation initiatives, including rainwater harvesting at the CB market. blockchain-based birth and death tracking system. As I told you earlier, that this is already there. This has already been taken up. Not only that, even the property tax payment is also completely IT enabled now, because a lot of people who are having property here could be staying in any other part of the world, so they can keep on maintaining their property tax and others through these enabled platforms. And tax filing online, paperless manner with assistance of trained volunteers, etc. Next. So after we started this project, so these were interventions which were previously there. We started in October last year, there was a special purpose vehicle which was formed in order to drive this particular initiative under the Smart City program. And thereafter, in July, we formed a project management unit also, which I am part of, that in order to have whatever is happening, take up more number of projects which will be related to citizen friendliness and go ahead and implement this project. So some of the very initial projects which we have conceived and in the process of, it's already tendered out. I mean, in the sense that people are being hired in order to build this. We are coming up with a smart cycle stand and public amenities. This is right when you enter the new town in front of the Coal India building. So this will be a typical cycle stand which will have citizen-friendly features, including mobile charging, including a vending zone, including a water ATM, and all these things. And also it will have the smartness effect. We are also putting up 3 bus stands initially, which will be replicated across the new town after these 3 are successfully done. And wherever, this is the pictorial idea of that bus stand. So this is something again, because there's a lot of young population here in Newtown. If you look at the Amity University, the Alia University, etc., and in future the Presidency University will also have a presence here. There's a lot of young population which will be coming in, and a lot of people who will be traveling in. So these kind of things are actually designed to give a lot of facilitating the young people and also giving them social messages. So while we have in all these things, while we have the LED screens, one is for pure advertisement, the other is also for social messages which the government wants to give to the people at large and of course the young generation. So these are the features which are there. You can see yourself. Then we also are looking at smart toilet and resting facilities. This is something which we are putting up in front of the Axis Mall. This is something which takes into account, which addresses the lot of people who are also part of the economy and most important part of the economy, who are actually coming out from various e-commerce service providers, whether it's Zomato or Swiggy or even the other vendors, etc., that they keep moving around the city from early morning. They probably need a place to rest. They probably need a place to have a shower, get ready. A lot of people are coming from outside the city, so that's the case. So addressing them through this kind of smart toilets and resting facilities. This is one particular model which is you are seeing. The whole idea is once this model is successfully done and once you see citizens using it and also coming up with feedback on this particular product, then it is replicated across the city at various points. And then smart landscaping and open places, which includes Wi-Fi facilities, crafted landscape, etc. Next. So, these are and there are quite a few interventions which are in process. These are things which are already there in the, the contractor will start working shortly. And these are other things like smart parking solutions at junctions, CCTV surveillance, barrier-free pedestrian-friendly, installing signages at different blocks, etc. Because these are signages which will enable people to move around more freely. And this will also be, to an extent, a lot of this will be connected in your Google Map as well. So it will make a much more easier wayfinding facilities inside the city. And placemaking of public open places, because in order to have a more vibrant city, you need public places, as we all acknowledge. So there are a number of placemaking initiatives as well. Next. So And finally, the integrated command and control center. I'm not getting into the details of this, but the whole idea is that, you can see for yourself. I'm not getting into the details. The whole idea is that there is one common platform which is created, which gets the feed from the various IT and IoT interventions, whether it's a whether it's a CCTV surveillance or a chip in a waste bin or some signal coming out from a bus, electric bus, or something coming out from a EV charging station, something coming out from a parking facility, which has got, everything is getting converged into one particular platform from where people can monitor related to citizen services, related to safety, related to better managing the city, related to identifying gaps, related to identifying defaulters, everybody. So that is the whole idea. It has got a specific structure in which it is made out, and we already have a building where this thing will be put up. So this is a very, very large project. And for the Pan City solution, you can say that for a smart city, this is one of the single large project which is there. Next. So this is what we have. This is what we have. Now, this was a very brief. Once you have queries, once you have any doubts, we can address that. We are very, very lucky to have, sir, the chairman of New Kolkata Green Smart City. So when you have your queries, you take the advantage of his presence. And, he can also address some of your queries. Please.
Thank you. I would start by a couple of questions I was having in mind when this the smart city proposal was coming up. Initially, how are we looking at Newtown, which is a urban peripheral city, which has grown up recently? It's a very new city in construction. How are we using the smart city to actually characterizing or shaping up a city which is unique from any other city? Because what is happening in a smart city thing or any other urban new city is all cities are becoming similar in terms of their looks through all these services we are providing. Are you looking at a kind of a design where you can make Newtown different from any other city in a very architectural, this is a very architectural question. And later, how are we looking at the notion of water? Of course, we have many other panels here, water being a very important point of scarcity. We're going to be running out of water very soon. That's what so many United Nations, these things are telling us. How have we addressed water here? Newtown being this thing. And also, in this smart city proposal, we are looking at, you're looking at particular areas. How are we looking at these suburbs of Newtown also? So I'm talking of these specific villages which are not in they're in shadow zones. The villages, how are we looking at these contexts?
We can talk about technology. I'm also the IT secretary of the state of West Bengal. So I'm always talking about robotics, IoT, machine language, blockchain, deep learning, and what have you. And we have actually done, as Saugata has shown, blockchain, which is one of the absolutely cutting-edge technology that is being used now for issuing birth and death certificate. So, for instance, there is the Bhagirathi Neotia hospital, which is running in Newtown, just behind or close to the Tata Cancer Center. If somebody is born, he or she will get a birth certificate that is on blockchain. And as you would know, it's absolutely technologically, nobody can change it. That is the whole essence of blockchain, which is why cryptocurrencies like Bitcoins are done on blockchain. Once there, nobody can forge it. If you can forge a 10 rupee note, nobody will value it any longer. So that is the essence of it. But I would not talk about technology. Saugata has talked a lot of technology. I talked with Shayantan and agreed to come and spend some time here because I'm looking for ideas in the field of architecture, and I just now took a great photo of Labor 4.0. Labor 4.0? Yes. Work 4.0, my mistake. So you see, we are talking about Industry 4.0, and that talks about how things can be automated basically stealing jobs from human beings to machines and how it can be done. This is how the industry should be prepared. This is the essence of the Industry 4.0 that is going on now, led by Germany now throughout the world. So this was a very eye-opener about what is going to come, and I am just reading the book, Life 3.0, what will we do in the futuristic world? But that will come later. Let's talk about the present. Let's talk about the present and what Shantan said. How do you want Newtown to be? How it should be different? How it should be aesthetically different? And what do we do about it? So as Mrs. Balakrishnan would agree with me, she was then the chairman of the Indian Institute of Architects Eastern Zone, and we had a lot of interaction. We know every year and everywhere there are hackathons in the IT field. You know, you are given a problem and you have to solve it, and you get a lot of prizes. We were the only ones to organize, in association with the Indian Institute of Architects, about a hackathon on public outdoor art. We cooped in participants from so many people, and they were given 24 hours, 48 hours, I think. First the problem statement, the exact problem, and then with each young group, there was a senior architect, and they would guide them what will work, what will not work, and certain people won these things, and at least one, for various reasons which I can discuss offline, the others could not take place, and therefore from these young, bright minds, okay, so I stand corrected. 2 of these projects have actually been implemented, and you can go and see how it is, what the young mind thinks, how public art may be different. So I'll dwell slightly on public art, and I have a vested reason. I'll come to the vested reason so that it makes sense. The vested reason is, as again Saugata has pointed out, Newtown has, we are talking about sustainability in this session also. We are absolutely passionate about sustainability and sustainable growth. And therefore, we are the only satellite township in India to have got a gold rating as a township, as a satellite township in the whole of India. And now we are striving to go towards the platinum. And one of the things that we are looking at is one of the things that were mentioned while we were given this platinum certificate by IGBC, which is controlled by CII, which is a body formed by CII, as you would know. So what I'm meaning to say, it's not a government body. So this IGBC commended, and I was discussing with Shantan, that we have miles and miles of bamboo barricades in Newtown. Think of Delhi, think of Bombay, think of New York, think of Tokyo. Have you ever seen in any major state capital that they make barricades in bamboo? And we did this because this was sustainable. How is bamboo sustainable as a fencing? It was mentioned in the narration by the IGBC. It said that for 1 kilometer of steel fencing, I forget the figures, but roughly the argument went like this: you spend energy of the order of 40,000 kilojoules. And for 1 kilometer of bamboo, you probably spend 240 kilojoules. So this is, I mean, the amount of energy you consume for manufacturing steel is absolutely uncomparable. So therefore, we did miles and miles of barricading of the central median, of the footpaths and other places using bamboo. Sometimes in blue and white because of compulsion, sometimes in very beautiful green and in lemon yellow, the forest color, sometimes pure white. We were trying to make various patterns. But this is not getting sustainable. Why? Because the bamboo is decaying. Every 2 years, every year we have to paint, and even then, you know, the root portion which is inside the soil, you can't paint that portion, can you, for an existing barricade? And what is happening is that it's rotting away, it's falling, and, you know, for 40 into 1,000, it will become 40,000. So we are having great difficulty in maintaining this. So now I am having a thought that should we, at the risk of being slightly non-sustainable, get to other maybe steel, maybe not, but we'll have to think of other things. We have had an experiment with one of the architects. I don't know it's proper to name things, but I will. With Obin Chaudhary and we gradually, and we tried to characterize what characterizes a modern city. You think of Old Delhi and New Delhi, you think of Old Calcutta and New Calcutta, you think of Paris and La Défense. It's network. It's very beautifully networked in a modern city. And therefore, the metro lines, you know, any metro lines, you think of the Delhi metro map, the red line, the pink line, and the white line, these cross each other. And I think that's the essence. It's water network, it's sewerage network, it's optical fiber network, it's power network, it's cable television network, and of course, it's the network of people, which Edward Glasser, the Harvard economist, talks very eloquently in his book called Triumph of the City. And he says that what is great in city, the greatest invention is that you have a network of people, and that allows you to advance the human knowledge. And therefore, network is at the root of a modern city, infrastructure-wise, human connection-wise. And therefore, this some band, if you go near the eco space, you will find a small roundabout where there is a bowl doing some music. It's done by an eminent artist. I'll come to that. And there the fencing is steel, no doubt, quite costly also, no doubt, but it roughly represents the metro lines in different forms, and also the skyscrapers, a modern building, because of the paucity of space. So it's tall and network, metro lines. This was the theme, and in a very small way we have done it. I am happy to see it, but my account section is not happy to see it. It's very costly. So this is the point. So now I'm thinking of changing kilometers of road fencing. You see everywhere in Kolkata, you find KP, Kolkata Police written, because you know people start crossing the streets and get themselves injured and in an accident. We just saw the Arcelor incident, it's still going on. But you shouldn't allow people to go in unprotected areas, nowhere it does. So you need fencing because nobody obeys marking in India. So therefore, physically you have to be prevented. So therefore, there has to be a fencing on the footpath. Only at the zebra crossings and other places there will be a gap. So how do we do these fencings? This is the problem. The police wants it higher and higher so that you cannot climb over it. So this is the point that I will come. If somebody has a great idea, please be free to come. But before that, we have been very passionate about making Newtown different. And we know that you will sneer at bureaucrats from me, what do you know about art, what do you know about architecture? I don't. But I know how to tap the best brains of the country. And therefore, this Kolkata Gate on this presentation Saugata started. If you have not been there, I do invite you to come. It's an air-conditioned, only hanging restaurant in India. And it's a fabulous piece of architecture, sculpture, engineering, conception, and the food too. I can guarantee that. Cafe Gante is a brand that is run totally by HIDCO, and I am the chairman managing director of HIDCO. Mr. Biplab Sengupta is a director in HIDCO, and it's completely run by us professionally. We don't interfere with the general manager. But what is the story of Kolkata Gate? Here it is. The brief was, and I was told from the very high quarters, from the Honorable Chief Minister, that we need a gateway to Kolkata. We need a gateway, full stop. So I am supposed to work on it. I was at that point of time also the Urban Development Secretary of the state, and therefore there was another brief of in Digha also we need a gate. It's being done. Anybody going to Digha, you will find these boat-shaped things, which was essentially, the design was finalized by HIDCO, but it was executed by somebody else. But let's come to this. Now, a person lands in the Kolkata airport and he's going towards the city. So we need a gate, but where is the space? And you know, the government, for political reasons and for policy reasons, we can't crush people's homes and build a gate. That's not possible. So after a lot of survey, we found this junction, which is popularly known as the Narkolbanga junction, and this site was put up for a national level design competition. We want a gate at this point, so submit your designs. There were 42 entries. If you will remember, most of the gates, at least those that I know of, are some variation of a goal post. Look at the India Gate. Look at the Gateway of India in Mumbai. Look at the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. All like this. Then you do all kinds of embellishments. And here was a design, unfortunately not from Kolkata, but from Pune, that talked about two intersecting parabolas and one circle in between. What a fantastic geometrical shape. What a fantastically stable structure. But engineering-wise, it was one of the most difficult, and the normal STAD analysis that civil engineers usually do for structural designs, it was just not capable of handling this complexity. And the construction, the huge 250 meters, 1/4 of a kilometer in an air-conditioned space inside the ring where the restaurant is, and beautiful graphics, and floor to ceiling, double glazed, very thick proof thing. How do you take it up? How do you build this exact shape so that it's all made of steel plates, square, flat steel plates? What precise engineering and architecture went into this, and also structural engineering. We were all very scared, especially so. Initially, it was so arranged that a Vishwa Bangla globe of what I am wearing here, that would rotate, but during erection, it fell down, there was a lot of noise, and then they said it was just an erection problem. The crane got stuck, there was no problem in the design, but we thought we'll do away with it, because if something falls down, we'll be very rough. Even now, it is monitored by the highest level of artificial intelligence. It is continuously CCTV'd. It is vibrations are continuously monitored. Its stress strain meters are located at various parts of the circles and in the rivets, so that it's always kept under surveillance for making things safe. And just to give a small thing, if you happen to be there, you will sometimes feel like an earthquake, like a feeling, because between the two rivets, it'll vibrate a little. Perhaps I'm going a bit astray, but just to give you a sense of the uniqueness of this thing. But while this is a great example, we have never stopped of making professionals design public art for us, and therefore, Mr. Shubha Prasanna had conducted a sculpture workshop years ago. Mr. Jogen Chaudhary had conducted an art workshop years ago. And young artists, young sculpturers, they came together, camped, we gave them food, we gave them art materials, we gave them any materials that they wanted, and they did it on an honorary basis, and whatever they did. We said, we have to put it all over the place. This can't be like full of, very ordinary sculpture, men, people, politicians, whom you always find everywhere. So let this be different. And these came up. So Shomi Raichi is over there near the 7-point crossing. Obin Chaudhary is there with a set of bamboo, differently colored. There is a baby in arms that is made of bricks only, that is lying in the eco park. And so many public art is there. The latest 3 editions are, which are not yet formally announced. One is by Mr. Professor Shishi Shahana of Kala Bhavan in Vishwabharati, who specializes in thick glasses, It's so thick that you almost need a lifter to take any piece out, and it's stained from inside, a dying art. And he has made a very abstract sculpture. He has called it The Growth. You really need to stand before them like one of these sculptures to understand whatever it is. But he's got a theory behind it, and it's all there in front of the financial hub. The financial hub, where 25 financial institutions are coming in the central business district. So our brief was, well, how can you represent this advancement where all kinds of people are coming in, and we want them to come in. And he thought of the theme growth, but he depicts growth in a quite spectacular manner, and it is there. It is right there, just waiting to be inaugurated, but it is there very much. It's complete in all respects. Then near the Art Sector, which Mr. Shubha Prasanna has done, on the way to Action Area 3, past the Tata Cancer Center, very recently, another 2 sculptures are going to be unveiled. We are waiting for the Minister's Day. So just to make the point, that, and in the HIDCO Bhavan lobby, many of the art that is framed on the reception and other things were born out of the art workshop curated by Mr. Jogen Chaudhary, and therefore we know that our civil engineers are not very great at public art. We therefore fall upon people like Ms. Balakrishnan, Shubha Prasanna, Jogen Chaudhary, Avin Chaudhary, and so on and so forth. We were also very, very choosy. Budget was never a constraint for us. We were very, very choosy for the Nojul Tirtho and the Vishwa Bangla Convention Center. The Nojul Tirtho, once again, it was done through a design competition. The initial model, that also I liked, spectacular it was. But for some reason, which I should not say over here, some people commented from the intelligence that it looked like a bit of Islamic art. And why should Nojul be branded as Islam? And it was actually inaugurated by Honorable Chief Minister. The model was unveiled. It's all on record in Nojul Moncho in South Calcutta. But later on, after this argument came in, this point of debate came in, it was scrapped, and he was asked to design a second one. The second one is what it is there today. It consists of block, windowless, concrete representing Nojul, but I don't want to get into that. But all I will say that anybody who has gone in to see the latest Salman Khan movie, and we do show the latest Dolby digital, absolutely 3D, whatever you see in any multiplex, whatever you see, the best in quality technology-wise. I have already commented that I am the technology secretary of the state, and we never compromise on that. And this is absolutely fabulous, the way Avin has designed and our engineers have executed. And the only point was it has to be different, it has to be good, and it has been good, and it has won a lot of awards, which Avin can tell, give the long list, which I don't remember. Similarly, about the Vishwa Bangla Convention Center, people are coming, the tourism ministry is coming to us and say, why don't you apply for star rating? And we have never seen a convention center like this, a jewel in the sky, as we say. It has cost us a tiny sum of 550 crores of rupees to build it. We have never said, itna paisa mein banana hai. No, we wanted something that posterity will remember about. Dulal Mukherjee, of course, says that after Victoria Memorial, that has, the next big thing is the Vishwa Bangla Convention Center. And my engineers say that after the Howrah Bridge, the Kolkata Gate is the next large intervention in the architectural landscape or engineering landscape of Kolkata. You can take it with a pinch of salt, but they are very proud of it. That is what matters. We are very proud of it. Whatever we have done it with the best advice, with the best design, and with the best inputs that we can get. So my thing, and one or two small other points that I may like to say in this regard is that another thing that we are quite proud of is about there isn't a proper word also for this. We have built various kinds of parks. There is a famous Feluda Park. Shonar Kella, Feluda, Professor Shonku on the oot, camel, you know, that is all there for the children. There is a park for on the theme of Alice in Wonderland. So lots of Handa Boda, this we keep on doing for the children. But when I joined the HIDCO as the chairman, that was about 6-7 years ago, and I find that the master plan, Mr. Sengupta was part of it, there are n number of children's parks, but there's nothing for the seniors. And as we all know, if you have seen the latest Times of India graph the other day, the total fertility replacement rate is 2.1 for the total fertility level. In Bengal, it is 1.5, much less. So in short, we are all aging. We all know that. And there should be, therefore, something dedicated for an inclusive society for the seniors as well. And therefore, I dedicated one of these parks, which was there in the master plan, for the seniors park. And the Shopno Bhor, the name given by Honorable Chief Minister, is such a vibrant community that has come up. It's designed very well. If you go to the reading room there, you will be reminded of Park Street, Oxford Road. There's a coffee house, there are books, quiet reading place, completely glass fronted, and there's a very green field outside. Nobody will disturb. Sip your coffee, read the evening newspaper, or spend the while today. And on the top, every Sunday there is a vibrant discussion, and now they are doing the first Durga Pujo by the seniors, all with their donations. Government has nothing to do with it. And because this was such a roaring success, they would pull in money and go around Durga Puja pandals. They would pull in money and go for Joyram Bhatti. They would pull in money, hire a bus and go to Sundarbans and get a launch and things like that. All we would do is to tell the local district magistrate to see that they are not harmed or something. So this Shopno Bhor, just opposite, building on it, we have now built, Devamallo is the architect, and he has done the Snehodaya, as it is called. We hate to call it a senior old age home. It is not. It is a retirement home. It is an independent living home. But my job is not to say that. You have got to see he's done it very well after intense discussion. But what I like most about it, when you enter the reception, for example, you see Pather Pachali and Shottuidrai all around. And every floor, not only Bengali, but Diwar, mere paas maa hai, aapka paas kya hai, and things like that. Things that we grew up with, things that seniors grew up with. It's nostalgia, it's a feeling that is conveyed. A feeling of togetherness. What binds us today is culture, is ancestry, is heritage. And that feeling is being recreated in Snehodaya. Not so much in the size of the rooms or air conditioning, or that everybody can do. But the small things that everywhere you go, you see Madhubala, and you see Aparna, and you see all those films that you grew up with, and immediately everybody relates to everybody. And I think it has been a great piece of one of the newer developments in the architecture in Newtown where we are involved. And perhaps I should not go further. I will only say that now we are working on signages. Here we are doing signages. Also, I am very deeply concerned. The normal signages are what? Blue, white, that's all. You know, the IRC code. Whenever I talk to my engineer, and he says, sir, but there is an IRC code that the color of this shirt and white on that with a fluorescent white, and that is how you should do all your signages. Is that the only way you can do? In any case, we had done some signages, which are long signages with yellow and map and very nice and smart. But at the neighborhood also, we are trying to do, and with a bit of technology in it, that you can talk to them if you wish, and there will be a very, very smart and a signage that will not steal away the pavement place. We keep on putting things on the pavement, and the poor pedestrian walks over in the blacktop, causing absolutely pointless exercises. So that is one thing that we are working with. The Deloitte and the team of architects from them are working hard to make smart bus stands, steel, glass, Internet of Things, Wi-Fi all together. We have many experts there. But what we don't have is what would connect the people with them. And which is why we are now doing a Happy City project with IIT Kharagpur. IIT Kharagpur has a Reiki Center of Excellence on Happiness. And for 2 years now, we are working with them. It doesn't come free. We have to pay them quite a bit of money. And they conduct, with their research scholars, serious interactions with the various kinds of groups of residents out there. Is to, the questions go like this. If I asked your neighbor that if you left your bag, would he return to you? Trust factor, relationship, and all those things. They have absolutely elaborate algorithms for gauging this, but at the end of the day, they gave us 6.4 in a scale of 10 on the level of happiness. I was not very happy. I thought we should get 8+, but they assured me that they have done a model, you know, what do they call it? This, what can I say, proofing with Salt Lake and Kolkata, and they said you stand better than both Salt Lake and Kolkata, which was a small consolation, but we are therefore now working with them and saying, that, okay, we got 6.4 out of 10 in the scale of happiness. What do we do more to make it H plus or 9 plus? And that is what they're working in. I do say that if I ever give a 3-star or a 4-star in a scale of 5 in, let us say, your Uber or in my Vistara where I came last evening, there will be a call from the customer service, why did you give 3, what went wrong? This is something that was not done in the happiness study. We are trying to do that, and we would like to see that this goes up the scale. So people must be happy. Whatever we are doing, it is for the residents to be content with. And we are trying to find out both in terms of hardware and in terms of software. By software here I'm meaning public art, designing of fences, designing of road art, and anything that can be done which has a bearing on the overall thing, that new town, smart city, is a futuristic, happy city. This is where we want it to be. And if you would like to contribute and help us, I would definitely like to have a conversation with you. Thank you very much.
Sir, I would like to open the floor for questions if someone has, but just one thing is why we are having this 3 days of conference here is basically to bridge the gap between public, artists and architects. You had shown us a very interesting, this gateway itself, but sometimes as a curator of art, I feel that, you know, like there's this distance between public art, and sometimes we cannot contextualize public art to its best. So sometimes when we talk about workshops and various other things, I'm sure there've been very good work, but we really need to contextualize more. And bridging between architects, artists, and the public is the essence of the day, and that is what is lacking, I feel, personally, because I work in this context. And sir, about your fencing, I think it can be reworked with bamboo itself, because I think when we split bamboo, when we get them split, I think it has this possibility, it becomes weak, and these sections, I think, should be, if it for Gita also, we should rework these things in the future.
Doing away with the fencing altogether and looking at some electronic fencing or another mode of controlling people from getting into, because it's nicer. Most cities do not have fences. If we can do away with it, again, it's another big achievement.
Any more questions?
The tree library is something I'm curious and interested in. The tree library I read about, if you can.
Tree library, the concept goes like this. Though I would invite you, Saugata has mentioned, to the smart library that is still in the making, almost finished. It's also coming up very well in Nojultite itself, but I'll explain. The tree library is a concept to familiarize the young and the children with our ethnic trees. People don't know what is Ashotto, what is Bot, what is Krishnachura, what is Radhachura. They just have no idea, today's youth, the difference between them. So we have to make it interesting, we have to make it available, we have to mark it, and just like a library consists of books from various publishers, so therefore there will be trees of various species. And there are various chapters in a book. In each of these species wise, there will be different varieties that will be exhibited. In each of them, there will be the Latin name, the common name, the Hindi Bangla name, and in case Kavi Guru Rabindranath has given some special names, that will also be given. And in the process, when these grow up, that area is also conceived with certain open spaces that will be left in between for having reading sessions with, bamboo chairs, shall we say, or easy chairs, very informal kind of setting. I visualize bright orange and green and pink wooden chairs, comfortable reclining with a round table and a heap of books lying down. But of course, the weather has to hold. You can't do it in a rain or a very, very hot day. So that's unfortunate. But if we have to make people live with nature, we have to make it interesting also. And therefore, this tree library concept basically starts from the concept that you got to love something first, then only you can conserve or save it. So how can you love somebody if you don't know him? Is it possible to love somebody for an unknown abstract person? You don't even know what is the color of a Radhachura flower in summer. And how do you think that he will prevent somebody when the tree is getting murdered? So the whole idea is to create a library of trees for giving knowledge, especially to the children and youth, so that they know them, and we believe knowing is the first step towards loving them.
Hi, thank you, sir. Since you just mentioned about trees and saving them and introducing people to trees, so nature extends and environment extends beyond trees and forests as well, which you would agree to. In case of Calcutta, the East Kolkata wetlands constitute a very important part of the Calcutta city's functioning in terms of solid waste management and sewerage. So how does Newtown accommodate the idea of the wetlands? Because we all can agree to the fact that it is being encroached upon, the wetlands. So how does the city plan in the future as well to accommodate the existence of this wetland, which is of international importance and something that we should protect with all our might? So that is one question I wanted to ask. And the second question, that since we talk about smart cities and there's a lot of data collection that's happening, a lot of it is passive data collection as well. What are the data protection modules that have been built into these systems for the protection of citizens? At one end, it can be mass level surveillance as well. So what are the protection measures that have been introduced into these systems to take care of the citizens' privacy at some point and the data's integrity as well?
Wetland and data protection. Wetland, of course, it's protected by Act, and while there is always kind of competition between development and environment, there has to be a golden line, a Lakshman Rekha that has to be drawn. And if the Ramsar site is a golden line, that shall be and should be respected by all. There's no question. But then, what do you do about solid waste? What do you do about development? About development, you can always argue that it can go to other places. But what about solid waste? Each of us present in this room, each of us every day produces solid waste amounting to about 400 to 500 grams. That means if there are 100 people in this room, we have produced 5 tons of waste today morning or yesterday. Don't multiply too seriously. But this fact is right. In Kolkata, the average solid waste production per capita is 400 to 500 grams per capita per day. Now, where will this waste go? The MSW rules say that where you can do your dumping, there in 2 kilometers, there cannot be any houses. Can you think of a place, think of Park Street, think of Victoria, think of any place in and around Kolkata where for 2 kilometers there is no residence? Hai nahi. So you can't follow the law and yet dispose of the waste. So what is going on now in Dhapa should not, but what do we do? What do we do is also written down in the MSW rules 2016. It says that thou shalt segregate your waste into wet waste, dry waste, medical waste, and hazardous wastes and certain other streams, and these shall all be recycled, and only the very minimal portion shall go to the landfill. So what we from the government overall are now stressing upon is to change in habit, is to segregate the solids. Now almost everywhere dry and wet solid waste is being done, because to get into a cyclical economy. The periodic table just contains 92 plus elements. So everything can be broken down, nothing gets different, nothing gets decayed. So you can always do, but it's a question of money. You can make gold out of iron, but the amount of money spent would be probably more than that is required for gold. So if we want to recycle the waste, it has to be segregated, and then only it becomes feasible economically to recycle. And I at least know, I am also chairman of Navadiganto Township Authority, which is Sector 5, much smaller than Newtown, but full of IT people. And there, for example, the Wipro campus, it's a zero waste campus. They do not allow 1 ounce of waste to go out of its campus. Everything is recycled, food waste is composted and used in the gardens, and everything else is composted. They said they had the toughest time in dealing with the thermocol plates and cups. You know, those white things that we do picnic with. It's most difficult to destroy or do something, and finally in their in-house research team has found that acetone, nail polish remover, acetone, when you put on acetone this thermocol plates and glasses, it dissolves and it can be taken away very easily. So the first question, of course, we should recognize and respect the Ramsar water body, and in order not to continue to dump waste, which you and I every day produce, we should do complete zero waste strategy. Maybe it will take a while to reach there, but we should start step 1 in a step of 1,000 today. The next one is about smart city and data privacy. This is a very, very debated issue. We, as of today, although Sri Krishna Committee report is there, and the TRI has also given a report, there is no law in India that protects your and my individual identity and data record. But sometimes I find that in India, in Bengal, in Calcutta, in Newtown, in wherever you are, it's so difficult to have the data in the first place. You ask anybody, Calcutta Municipal Corporation, Howrah Municipal Corporation, very, very simple things. How much water body do you have? What is the amount of garbage that you have? What is the amount of slums you have? Kuch nahi milta. We are very poor at keeping data. So what is happening, the open data policy of the government of India actually, it says that whatever you can give under the Right to Information Act, think of electoral data, not Aadhaar data, voter list data. You know, voter list data is available on the web, and the political parties are given copies, the booth agent is given a copy, it's not a secret. So that, whatever is there already in the public domain, can be put into what they're calling an open data or open data lake, they are saying. Even you don't even have to format it. You know, it's very difficult. Somebody is keeping in Excel, somebody in PDF, somebody is Word, somebody in plain paper. And how does a researcher get all these things together? But the strategy is, don't try to get into formatting issue. He who needs it would do the necessary conversion. As it is, get into a lake, pump all your water, read data into one lake, put it on a website, and those who need shall use it in the best way possible. Here, the privacy issue is not involved because, as I said, by definition, whatever is allowed under the law to be given under the Right to Information Act only shall be given into this data lake and into the open data policy. For the others, but gradually with the kind of CCTVs that is happening, with the kind of video analytics that is going on, with the kind of face recognition that is happening, as Economist, the magazine, very famously said, nowhere to hide. You can't hide anymore.